Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to VGU Talks. It's still E3 2015, and let's talk games. Now it's time to tackle Sony's press conference. The PlayStation experience. Is it going to be a great experience or a lackluster one? It's time to strap in and have a look. Sony have a big level of expectation from me personally. The Microsoft one was really good, so hopefully this time Sony will win me over. Let me give you my thoughts. So first off, after opening the show up with Sean Layden saying hi to everyone. Hey Sean, you got a great beard by the way, dude. Loving that beard. We finally get it. Last Guardian is here. I know there was the whole debacle going on, whether it was lost in development, still in development, unsure about development, but it's here. It's coming out in 2016. We don't have to wait long whatsoever, and it looks amazing. The art style, as it was, is just gorgeous. The puzzle solving looks very intriguing, and I'm loving the idea that you really have to work together with your animal companion. It looks brilliant, like the levels of puzzling and platforming and jumping and climbing and grabbing and all that jazz. That looks great! It's totally on a different level to anything else we've seen from those developers so far. You have a really good sense of subtle control over your companion as well. Like there's a moment where you're over a ledge and you call him over, and then when you call him over, you jump a couple of times on the spot, trying to hint to him that he needs to jump over this ledge in order for you to get over there yourself. And I love that. It's as if you know you can't control him and you know that he's his own guy, but you need to hint to him as to what you would want him to do next. That I love. It's combining elements of both Ico and Shadows of the Colossus, especially with the climbing segments when you're climbing all over him and you have all the hairs and all that jazz. That looks amazing. I am looking forward to seeing more from The Last Guardian. It's just great to see that it is not lost and it's still here. A surprising new IP came out from Guerrilla, the guys behind the Killzone Shadowfall. This new IP of theirs, known as Horizon Zero Dawn, looks really good. It's this interesting world where you don't know whether it's post-apocalyptic or something along those lines, but now you have humans that are hunters hunting down machines that seem to be bred in the style of different animals, and they seem to be hunting them down for what seems to be powering these machines, like their energy capsules or whatnot. And these animalistic machines come in all different shapes and sizes, and then you have this great segment with this massive beastie versus you, the female protagonist, which is, again, fantastic to have some diversity out there with our protagonist throughout E3. Very much concentrating on ranged combats with bows and a variety of different arrows with different elements and different statuses that can come across with them as well. That looks really interesting. And the combat is so fluid and diverse. It's different from other combat games that are similar style to this. It's not as simple as shoot, 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 hide behind cover, or dodge when someone's firing something at you or trying to attack you, shoot, shoot, shoot. It's very much you work to the advantage of a level and you work to the advantage of how your enemy's positioned. I love this moment where you get your bow ready, you ready up your shot, you slide underneath the machine and shoot him in his underbelly. That's awesome. So you can hit him anywhere, you can shoot off the cannons that they have on their back and use them against them, and then if you find an opening inside of their shell, you can launch a specific arrow into them and immediately destroy them. Quite frankly, I want to see more of Horizon. This is a new IP I'm really psyched to get behind. A mini reveal after this for the new Hitman. By the looks of things, it's just being called Hitman this time around. No problems with that. And they were saying that there's going to be new cases and assassination targets, which is going to be awesome. I hope it's going to be bigger, better, more badass than any other Hitman game that's come before. But the interesting thing though, no gameplay was shown. It was just highlights of the movie. So, leave something to be impressed there. But hopefully we'll see more when Gamescom comes around or some other time soon. They have also said that there will be exclusive assassination cases on the PlayStation 4, so that's quite cool as well. Then we had something I am very much interested in, Street Fighter V. I knew it was going to take part somewhere, and we were seeing a bit of Chun-Li, Ryu, seeing a bit of Nash, and M. Bison. And now we get the reveal of 2 new challengers entering the fight. Or should I say, returning challengers. Obviously, my number 1 gal, Cammy, the British operative that kicks ass, is back, and she looks insane. Her anti-air looks crazy. I can't even think about what button inputs you have to do to make that happen, but that looks nuts. And Birdie's back from Alpha. I was not expecting Birdie whatsoever. I was expecting Guile, maybe even one of the other guys that we're used to, but more high up, but Birdie's back. That's pretty awesome. I like the fact that Birdie's coming back. This is already looking really good, and I can't wait to see these new fighters in more detail. A demo of No Man's Sky was played on the show floor. Was really happy to see this, as I am a fan of No Man's Sky and how it's being developed. I was not expecting the game to be as large as I was expecting it to be. Now, don't get me wrong, I knew it was going to be on a large space, but I thought it would be Little Big Planet large, where everyone can make their own world sort of thing, and then everyone's intertwined, so you're going to have millions of possibilities, millions of different levels, all that jazz. And I thought that'd be awesome enough. Then he shows the solar system, and then rewinds, and says that these are all the stars. Let's keep going back. Let's keep going back, and it goes further and further. And there are so many stars, to the extent where he's even come out and saying there is a chance that you will never explore some of these places. And that's mind-blowing how huge it is. The other awesome thing is that he went to this random planet that he's never been to before, and basically said to us, if anyone in the future playing this game ever finds the E3 planet, as we've called it, let us know, because we may never see that planet ever again. It's very intriguing. It's all about researching and discovering wildlife, plant life, and defeating enemies, whilst you also have full space battles and immediate planetary landings where you can just switch between both. It's such an amazing idea, and I just want more. After No Man's Sky, however, we did have one of my favourite creative developers out there by Media Molecule, aka the Little Big Planet guys. I love these dudes, and their new game, Dreams, just looks lovely from a design perspective. So it's a new creative game that uses the motion controls of a PS4 controller to paint what you want to create. So think of it as an actual paint tool, and then you can do whatever you want with it. You can create characters, worlds, things for characters to interact with, like pianos and things like that. It looks insanely creative. I love the idea behind painting it all, and it has this really nice art style behind it that I can really get behind. Then you can bring the characters to life. But the intriguing part is, you're not necessarily just creating games here, you're creating experiences, shows, different things that different people can interact with. I love the diversity this is bringing to the table. I kind of want to play with it myself. It's one of those games where it's so beautiful and creative that you just want to get behind it and just mess about and see what you can do. I can't wait for that. We had an intriguing look at this nice little game called Firewatch. It looks very interesting, with you going around with a radio with your companion on the other side of a radio. Not sure what the story's going to be planning out on the big side of things, but by the looks of things it's going to add a lot of survival elements in there. It's going to be an interesting story, and there seems to be a deep world with an even deeper mystery behind it. I'm looking forward to seeing more about the narrative and the game in general on that front. Of course, Destiny is going to be there, or as me and some of the other VGU lads call it, Mestiny, with the new expansion, The Fallen King. The expansion's bringing in new stuff for you guys to get engaged with, as well as the third class variations that are now going to be available. That alone is intriguing. No news on whether the level cap's going to go up, but we are going to get more weapons, more armors, more strikes, and all that jazz. And bear in mind, PS4 guys, you'll get unique weapons, armor, and a unique couple of strikes coming exclusively to the PS4 version of Destiny. The next one was from Square Enix, and I was thinking to myself, okay, come on Square, win me over with something cool. And it's a new Final Fantasy, World of Final Fantasy. PS4 and Vita, 2016, it's coming out. And it looks really intriguing. It's got a childish and a fun art style that kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy Tactics. The other thing I like about it as well is that the characters have two different sides to them. You can either play them in these like big head pop vinyl modes, which kind of reminds me of an updated look of how the characters looked in the old school Final Fantasies, from the top down view of the world maps and all that, where the main part of them that's on show are their heads kind of. So I love that as a kind of homage to the old school Final Fantasy style, and then you can immediately switch them between that and an updated Kingdom Hearts style, which looks lovely. It's intended for a younger audience by the looks of it all, but I'm still very interested in it, especially with the look of it being that you can get enemies to join you in battle, like a behemoth or Magitech armor. That looks really cool. Can't wait to see more. And that was all Final Fantasy wise. Yeah, there's nothing about Final Fantasy 15, nothing about Heaven's Ward. It's quite a letdown really. Until all of a sudden they made the announcement that made my dick rock hard. No. Allow me to calm down and actually tell you what happened. Final Fantasy VII, a full HD remake, is coming to PlayStation 4 first. I know a ton of people out there are already raging saying, it's not exclusive, I don't care, okay? I'm just happy we're getting Final Fantasy VII remade in general. Do you know what this means for everyone? Not just one party. This is good for everyone, okay? It's just gobsmacking that they actually did it. I was not expecting it whatsoever. You surprised me. Well done, Square. Now, Final Fantasy VII is not my favourite Final Fantasy of all time. My favourite ones are 4, 5 and 6, just to say. But I am happy to see it come back in all its updated glory, and I will gladly get it again to experience Final Fantasy VII in a new light. Now, I'm hoping that it's fully voice acted, and I cannot wait to see what the in-game battles are going to be like with the updated designs. Can you imagine going up against a guy like Ultima Weapon with those graphics? But after this, we had Devolver. With Devolver Studios come out with a collection of games. All these games look really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing a few of these, and I'm actually quite scared because I think a couple of these are just going to be PlayStation Plus freebies when a month comes around. But that doesn't mean that they're bad. That means they're fun, and I'm definitely going to pick them up. Now, with Final Fantasy VII being released, not a lot's going to be able to compete against that for the rest of the show, right? Right? Wrong! There's only one thing the Sony can put out that is going to smack the faces even more out of people, and they did it. Shenmue 3 is happening, and was officially kickstarted live on stage. The insane thing is that ever since that press conference from last night, it has already broken the $2 million range that it was aiming for. We are already done. We've already got Shenmue 3 guaranteed to come to the PlayStation 4. Now it's a matter of seeing how much money that game can get and what big bonuses will be coming our way in the PlayStation 4. This game has high expectations, but it's gonna look beautiful. Then we had a nice session of highlights concerning Project Morpheus and some games coming out for it, and its concentration around being built for the PS4. I quite like the idea of it. I have tried the Project Morpheus at an event once, and I prefer it over the Oculus Rift. It's not that heavy on your head whatsoever. It's not strainful on your eyes either, and you've got this beautiful wide view when you've got the visor on. Quite frankly, if I were to get a VR headset, it would be Morpheus. Not because I'm a fanboy, but because it's built better, at least in my opinion. One game in particular they showed off a little bit about that I'm mostly interested in on that side is a game called Riggs, which they said is an esports game that they're trying to go for. That's a 3v3 style arena shooter. That looks very interesting and now raises the question of, could VR enter the realm of esports? It's more than possible. Could it happen? It might. I'll support it if it does. There was also a little talking about TV support in the States for PS View, which is kind of like their on-demand TV system, kind of like Netflix. And it's always good to see it's getting even more support out there, including individual channel supports and making your own channel plans, which is really good. Will it come to Europe? I hope so. It better do, as well as for European channels, because I would love nothing more than to have Sky Sports, or any of that jazz. Wait, what did I just say? Sports! Now, big shocker, the Xbox guys had Dark Souls 3, which shocked me on that front. What did Sony have? Sony had Call of Duty this time. Well, look at that. Talk about a 180 on that front. Black Ops 3 was shown on the PlayStation stage, and you know what? It actually looks pretty good. I'm a fan of more futuristic, fast-paced shooters, and it's exactly what it's bringing to the table. I'm loving the look of a futuristic warfare style, a fast-paced combat with abilities to switch out to on the fly, for immediate damage, for distraction, or for support in the middle of battle. They look really interesting. The multiplayer looks enticing as all hell this time around, and it seems to have a lot of inspiration from what Battlefield, Battlefront, and even Titanfall have done, and it wants to be up to that par, which I do not blame it. In all honesty, this looks like the best Call of Duty in years. I still have my doubts, because it is also being done for the PS3 and Xbox 360, so it may not be taking next gen super seriously just yet. But it has convinced me enough to at least try it out next time I'm at an event. Disney Infinity 3.0 was on stage showcasing its new Star Wars packs. They've got one pack going for episodes 1, 2 and 3 featuring those characters, and another pack going for episodes 4, 5 and 6 with those characters. And I find that really interesting, separating them out and having two separate adventures. That's really cool. Now the awesome thing is, Sony's got an exclusive deal on the Empire pack, which is what they're calling it for the episode 4, 5 and 6 story, where for 1 month before its retail release on other consoles, Sony guys can get it earlier, and that's pretty cool. Another thing to add is that, and for another Sony exclusive and a little bit of a push, you'll also get the chance to play as Boba Fett first on PlayStation 4. And speaking of Star Wars, of course there was going to be more Star Wars Battlefront on show right here. And it's Showcase Survival Mode, which is a brand new mode. It seems to be a co-op style capture and defend mode versus a ton of Imperial forces, and I mean a ton. At first they just send in the General Grunts that obviously went to Imperial soldier training because they can't shoot you for crap, and then they get in the heavier troopers, and then they get even more heavier troopers, and then they bring in the walkers, and everything starts going to hell, and you've got X-Wings flying over. Man, that looks crazy. It looks pretty nuts. The HUD looks very nice. If I had to take anything from it, the actual HUD of the game looked really, really clean. I really like that indeed. I still have my doubts about Star Wars Battlefront. I still need to see more of it to really encourage me to get it or even pre-order it. But at the moment, it does look good. I will not let that get away from them. And finally, the show was closed off with a game I'm very much anticipated for, Uncharted 4. It still looks great, and in this demo they had a big car chase sequence which was perfect to show off all the destructible environments and how damaging it is, as well as the awesome witty banter with Drake and the other characters. That was really cool to see. I'm really psyched for Uncharted 4 as well as the remastered editions of Uncharted 1, 2 and 3, and it proves why I just love the series and I hope to get my hands on it very soon. So overall, that was a fantastic show from the Sony guys. In my personal opinion, it was more appealing game-wise for Microsoft. I think the titles that they had on show here were way more appealing than the ones they showed off during the Microsoft conference. But as I said, my opinion on that one. Now, the big question is, will Sony counter the backwards compatibility that was announced during the Xbox conference at Gamescom or at a later date? Maybe, because now you've got to think about it. Sony have to put this into consideration now. It's a big move by Microsoft, and if they don't move on it, I think a lot of people are going to start having a bit of angst against the higher ups of Sony, especially with PlayStation Now being a pretty bad product. So ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts about what was shown off during the Sony experience. But tell me this, what were your thoughts on the conference, your high points and your low? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll be seeing you guys next time with some more coverage of E3 2015 right here on VGU Talks.